The Chiefs are at home tonight against Hyannis.
Get ready to hear some noise tonight. You're just seconds away from Let's Go Blues Radio.
No doubt about it, eh? You're listening to Kurt, Bill, and Jeff on Let's Go Blues Radio, the original St. Louis Blues hockey fan podcast. Take it away, boys.
Come on, St. Louis hockey fans, stand up and cheer. The Blues are back strong. This is our year. It's the Blues' turn now.
I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Yeah, it's the Blues' turn now. That Al McKinnon slap shot, you know we can't lose. We are St. Louis, the home of the Blues. Come on, St. Louis. Come on, St. Louis. Come on, St. Louis.
Let's do that hockey.
Come on, St. Louis. All over the hockey universe, the note is the news. Everybody's digging on the St. Louis Blues.
Welcome to Season 7, Episode 24 of the original St. Louis Blues Hockey Podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. We're live on Wednesday, November 28th, 2018. This is franchise episode number 157 all time. I'm your host, Kurt Price, and my co-hosts Bill Day and Jeff Ponder are here again with me to interact with us on the show or social media. Follow us on Twitter, where most of our interaction takes place, which is at LGB Radio. My Twitter handle is at Kurt Price. Bill's is at Billy Blue Note, and Jeff's is at JPonder94. Also follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, and the website is letsgoblues.com. If we have time later, and if you want to talk hockey, we'll open it up for you to come on the show. Check out our Twitter account for that info, which is, again, at LGB Radio when that time comes, and maybe you can join us. Please check out the letsgoblues.com shop and consider buying a reasonably priced shirt, mug, or sticker. All proceeds go back into the show. Fellas, it seems like this is like a broken record with this show, but we'll get the beers of the episode out of the way, and then we can talk some hockey. Bill, what do you got?
I'm finishing off an already open bottle of Canadian breakfast stout from Founders. It's something I've been looking forward to for a while. It's a rare release from Founders typically, but apparently it was everywhere this year. So I was able to pick up a few bottles, and thank you for picking me one up.
Yes, I got you an extra.
So yeah, my opinion is I think it needs a little more aging, but it's still damn good. It is, for the record.
What's the born on date?
It was, I don't know if where's that on here? It's Imperial Stout brewed with chocolate and coffee, aged in maple syrup bourbon barrels.
I can taste the maple.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. So there's that. And that's about it. That's all I got.
All right.
I need a 12-step program to get me off the blues.
Miss Ponder, what do you got?
I'm not responding.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm also echoing. Why don't you fix that, you asshole? Yeah, go ahead. Fix
It doesn't.
Come on.
Right.
Still
you can't talk with an echo. Yeah, it's stuck. Okay,
no,
go
still
ahead.
talking.
No,
No, nothing. There we go. Okay, that's better. Hey, fellas. Boy, I love this hockey team, don't you guys? Oh, man, I just love it so much that I'm going to get wasted during this show. So I'm going to take my little girly drink here in my manly mug, by the way, a wedding present from a good friend. This fits like 4 beers in it. It doesn't look like it, but the Vikings shaped this. It's it's a great mug.
Is it a horn? It looks.
Yes, it's a horn.
It looks like a shoe for a horse, not like an actual horse shoe, but if you were to slip a device over a horse's hoof that was comparable to a human shoe, that's what it would look like.
That's what this is. Yes, it's a drinking horn, which is phenomenal, and I use it whenever I'm like, you know what, I'm probably gonna drink a lot tonight, which seems to be every night the Blues play. But This might be a Let's Go Blues Radio first. My beer of the episode is not a beer. It is Malibu Banana Rum. So I mixed this with some Pepsi. It's about a half and half. So we'll see where the night takes us.
Ooh, looking forward to that.
Drastic times call for drastic measures. That's the way I see it with watching this hockey team.
My beverage of choice this evening, I have returned to the alcohol arena after last week's water due to my cold last week. NyQuil and water. I've got the salted caramel pecan ale from 4204 Main Street Brewery in Belleville, Illinois. I've had this before on the show. It's good. And the only reason I'm drinking it, there's no meaning behind it. It was in my fridge, and I wanted to drink it. So that's... And it is every bit. You can taste the caramel. You can taste the pecan. It's pretty good. So there you go.
You said that last week you had NyQuil and water as your drink. Isn't that a similar concoction that Bill Cosby liked in the 80s?
Did
I go there? I went there.
That's how you make the Jello pudding pops, right? It's the NyQuil and the water. You mix it together, and you get the Jello pudding.
You got to get the pudding pop. We're already off the rails.
Jello pudding pops. Those were good.
Those were fantastic.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't make them anymore.
Remember Bomb Pops? Oh, Bomb Pops.
They still make Bomb Pops.
I know. They're phenomenal. Push Pops?
Push Pop, like orange sherbet kind.
Yeah.
I guess that's the only kind they make.
Good
They make ice cream. It's just
it's sherbet.
Right.
They whatever flavor sherbet and a push pop. You used to have Fred Flintstone on it.
I like Push Pops. What you're saying is you like sherbet.
Yes.
That's all they are, sherbet.
Pretty much. Do we have to talk hockey? Can we skip that part?
Well, we don't have to. We can actually. What we're going to do is we have a guest with us on the show. Her name is Kayla Martz. She's the Red Wings correspondent for Let's Go Blues Radio, located in, I'm assuming, the greater Detroit area or somewhere in the Eastern time zone.
Yep, greater Detroit area.
Kayla, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Don't gloat too much.
I won't. Don't worry. I mean, I've been where you guys are. I mean, the beginning of this season was so horrible being a Red Wing fan. There was times where I was just like, do I even have to watch this game? But, I still watched. I still, suffered. But they did, they started turning their game around, beginning of November. So, or actually more like the end of October. So, I mean, it can happen for you guys too, especially since you made a coaching change not too long ago. So, I don't know. There's still hope, you guys. And besides, at least me being a Red Wings fan, you guys being St. Louis Blues fans, we can both at least have the solace in knowing that Chicago Blackhawks suck.
Yeah,
it's always comforting to know that they just suck. And well.
There's something wrong about saying such and such team sucks when they're above you in the standings. They're the wrong way.
No, there's not anything wrong with it. They suck. They suck, and Pittsburgh sucks. Oh well.
You sound like a Blues fan. Everybody sucks.
Yeah.
So
everyone sucks.
So you've done some podcasting and blogging in the past, correct?
Yes, I have. Okay. I used to do blogging and podcasting for Winged Octopus, and I kind of ventured off to do my own thing, and so I have a YouTube channel. Kay Loves Hockey, LUVS for the loves. So I've been kind of slacking this year, but hopefully next week or so I'll get something up. So, but thank you guys so much for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. I know I was on. It was Winged Octopus at the time that I joined you guys a few years ago, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Your show.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was fun.
Well, if you're a free agent, you're welcome to join our show. I hear we're getting rid of one of our hosts soon.
Yeah.
You weren't supposed to hear that news, Jeff. That was.
And for the record, I didn't bring a beer with me, but I am drinking Mountain Dew. I don't know if that counts. It's the White Mountain Dew.
What's the White Mountain Dew called? What is that? Mountain, not
White
mountain.
Out. White Out.
White Out.
Yes.
Huh. White Out. Kind of Winnipeg appropriate.
Yeah, it is.
So it's been a number of years since the Red Wings moved to the Eastern Conference. How long has it been? 5 years? 6?
Yeah, since 2014, I want to say.
Yeah.
Right? Yes.
So Blues fans hated the Red Wings for over a decade. Because was it really? I was going to ask this because the Red Wings always seemed to be the team that the Blues ran into and could never beat. Couldn't beat the playoffs. Even the regular season just had a hell of a time beating the Wings. It was a big deal. Remember when Demetrius scored in overtime against the Red Wings? It was like, I mean, when the Blues fans remember a regular season overtime game against the Red Wings back in 2000 and what is it, 1 or 2 or whatever it was. Demetrius scores in overtime. The Blues fans remember, hey, we beat the Wings that one game, and
right. Or the what was it? The game where after the Wings had just run roughshod over the Blues for the Blues were. It was the dark years. I think it was like 2009. Blues went in there and ran up the scores like 9.
It was 11 to nothing or 1, something like that. 10 to nothing. Yeah, I took a picture of it.
I think it was 10-1.
10-1. I have a picture of that screen. Yeah.
Really?
My favorite was the Al McInnes scoring from the red line on Osgood. That's the one I remember.
Oh, poor Ozzy.
It's okay. We feel the pain with Osgood too.
I mean, yeah, the feeling. I mean, the feeling's mutual. I won't say with me. I don't hate the Blues. There's not like, I don't really hate any team really. I don't even really hate Chicago to the extent that a lot of other Detroit fans do. I just can't stand a lot of their fans, but a lot of their fans I'm cool with. But like I became a hockey fan in 2007. So I'm more of like recent, I guess you could say. But my mom, she's a lifelong Red Wings fan. And I just know, there was so many times when I was like younger and all I heard was, that dirty Kachuk and like things like that and Pronger. And yeah, so I just remember hearing things like that. So there was someone else too. He traded to Nashville. Who was it? My mind's going blank.
Jackman?
Yes.
Barry Jackman.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jackman, who won Henrik Zetterberg's Calder Trophy in 2003.
Beat out Zetterberg a lot of people didn't like that.
Yeah.
Al McInnes is the first player to ever win the Calder Trophy in like his 12th season. That's the way I saw that.
It was 19th season, I think, at that point.
So I guess I was going to ask you how you felt about Claude Lemieux, but I guess that's
yeah, I mean, I think Claude Lemieux is a given. In fact, like right where I'm sitting, I have a turtle on my desk. So yeah, I have a little Claude Lemieux.
He scored a goal on the Blues the other night.
Yep. I mean, I was going to ask if because I back in the day, I remember having conversations with some Wings fans about, I don't know if it was said to try and get under my skin, but it was more along the lines of, well, Wings always beat you guys. We always beat you guys. It's not a rivalry unless, it's back and forth.
I don't believe that at all.
Well, and I don't either, because a lot goes into a rivalry. It's not just, 50-50 games, but I was going to ask you how you felt about the Blues, because I mean, there's Colorado and the Chicago. Right. Colorado rivalry was nasty, and Chicago was long standing. So, and I was curious as to from a Red Wings fan's perspective how Blues would rank as far as a rival goes against the Wings. Because I know with Blues fans, like I said, it's not so much anymore because different conferences, but when they were in the same division, it was the Red Wings were number one. Way ahead of Chicago because Chicago was irrelevant for a long time.
Right.
Yeah. I would say definitely is like historically, I would say St. Louis has got to be at least like number 6 or 5. Again, it is more of a historic rivalry. So I'm not really good at where I would place them, but I would definitely put Colorado and Detroit up there at number 1, even though I know Chicago fans will find a reason to bitch at that too, but you know what? Oh well. And then I would put Chicago behind them. And I don't know, maybe like number 4 or 5, maybe. That's where I put them. Because at number 3, it's like weird. I would, as weird as it sounds, I would actually put personally myself, I would put San Jose, because when the Red Wings were in the West, we would play them so many times in the postseason, and they just always had our number. It was like ridiculous. So I don't know. I would put San Jose up there. I don't know if any other Red Wing fans personally would. I would, because that's especially when I first became like a huge hockey fan. Those are like the teams I always saw, like against Detroit, and I would also include Anaheim too.
Who's the biggest rival now on the eastern side of the eastern side of the NHL?
I would say with Detroit, it's either kind of Pittsburgh, but also Tampa Bay recently. That's who I would say.
Playoffs a couple times, right?
Right, yeah. 2 times in the playoffs. They beat us both times. The first time they made like a really good run for it, though. Second time, though, they just collapsed. They looked awful. So the first time, though, there was a lot of bad blood. That's when they had Brian Boyle on the team, and he got in a fight with Justin Abdelkader, I remember, in the one game. And then Abdelkader broke his hand, or maybe he didn't break it, but he injured his hand and he couldn't fight him. Brian Boyle does the chicken thing. Yeah, it was a huge deal or whatever. I mean, Red Wing fans that night, I remember, had like a hashtag that said hashtag Brian Boyle things, and it would be the most random things you could like possibly think of. It was a great night on Twitter.
So how has the move to the East affected the rivalry with the Avalanche?
Yeah, there's literally no rivalry there at all whatsoever. I mean, you'll see, I noticed tonight, like for the first time, I noticed because I work so many times, so I don't get to see as many Red Wing games as I would like to. But I noticed tonight, NBC got rid of the Wednesday night rivalry thing, which I thought was interesting because it's like, go figure, this is like the one time when it kind of could be considered like a rivalry, but oh well. But yeah, Colorado, they're not a rivalry. Like no matter how many Red Wing fans want to try and force it, it's like, don't force it. It just looks embarrassing.
Yeah, I think that's how Blues fans probably feel. It's like I like it.
Like a different. I'm sorry. It's just like a different era of players, though.
Yeah, right. It was 20 years ago.
Right. Like people need to just get over it.
Right.
It was great while it lasted, but it's over now.
My God, this hashtag is hilarious. Brian Boyle things.
Yes, it's so funny.
Listens to the Hansons Mbop before games. Yeah. He doesn't tip when he goes out to eat.
Yeah, it was a great, like, I don't even know who started it, but a couple Red Wing fans started it, and every Detroit fan just ran with it, myself included. So, yeah, it was so much fun. And like I said, it's the most random things you could possibly think of. And yeah, and I mean, so I have so much respect for the guy now, because he came out and he has cancer and everything like that. But, at the time, and I mean, still, it has nothing to do with his diagnosis, So it was just a fun way to just really pissed off a bunch of Tampa Bay fans. They were not happy, but oh
well. So as far as the season goes, the Wings have been rebuilding.
Yes.
Since they've missed the playoffs. So probably right before they missed the playoffs. So no playoffs the last 2 seasons after 25 straight.
Yes.
So how far are they from returning to the playoffs, do you think? And what pieces do they still need?
I mean, I think they're pretty far still, just because, when they look good, they look really good, but they're just so streaky, and it's really hard to depend on them, unfortunately. So, I mean, I don't know. I would say a couple more years at the very least, I mean, to make like a solid playoff push. Because the thing is that I know personally, I don't want them to just get into the playoffs just to say they made the playoffs. I was so sick of first round exits year after year, against Boston, against Tampa Bay. It's just, it wasn't even worth it at that point. If they're going to make it into the playoffs, I want them to make a playoff push. I don't want them to just get knocked out first round over and over again. So, I mean, I would definitely say 2 years minimum, maybe 3 minimum, I would say. And as far as pieces go, missing pieces, our defense is lacking. We do have young, promising players, but I don't know. We got to get rid of some of these older players first. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but, Eriksson, he's been a healthy scratch lately. And I'm so glad. Every Red Wing fan is glad. He's probably the worst defenseman in the whole entire league.
We'll foul him for that.
You're Jonathan Eriksson, and I raise you one J Booster.
Okay, that's a good point, but I don't know. I don't know. I might have to challenge you on that, though. And I would also say Nicholas Cromwell. I mean, he's a great guy, and I love everything he's done for Detroit and for this team. But I mean, he's so banged up, physically that, plus it's a different league. He can't really hit people the way he used to hit people anymore. And so, we need to move some of these guys that are older and declining, move them out. Let's bring up the young kids. Let's see what we got. And so far, to Detroit's credit this year, they've been doing that pretty good, which I'm actually surprised about. They're not really known to do that kind of stuff, but they really had no choice this year.
Erickson is on a contract for next season too at $4.25 million. Baumeister makes about $1.2 million more than that. So, but his contract is up after this season. I would ask you if you wanted to swap players, but feeling it now. I think we're pot committed. We're pot committed with Baumeister right now.
It's the term.
Well, at least I know what you guys are going through then. We both have really crappy defensemen with long-term contracts.
The Blues should probably pick him up as well as Carl Alsner and then have the worst overpaid defense in the entire NHL. At least we could gloat about something.
Right? No, I definitely agree with that. Especially, it really hurts, too, just being a Detroit Red Wings fan. And, I mean, we had Nicholas Lindstrom, so you can't get much better than Nicholas. Oh, you guys had Chris Pronger, too, though. So, I mean, I guess you guys would still, consider it the same thing. You go from, having the best defenseman on your team, and then you have Jay Baumeister. I mean, and it's like, what the hell?
Actually, we actually traded Pronger for the worst defenseman. We gave up a fantastic defenseman for Eric Brewer. Yeah. So that was awful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that, guys.
That's the one thing Jay Baumeister's got going for him. He's not Eric Brewer.
That's true. God,
at this point, what does it matter?
What does it matter? They're all the same.
It's weird. It's interesting hearing a Red Wings fan talk about being tired of first round playoff exits. I mean, what do you got? How many cups have you won since '96 or '7? Was it?
Four. We won. Yeah, 96, 97, 2008, and or 2002, 2008.
Must be rough.
They beat the Blues twice in that time, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not rough, obviously. I mean, seeing my team win 4 cups or whatever in my lifetime. But at the same time, it still does suck because it's we had that taste of winning and that taste of championships, and now it's nothing. So, okay, this kind of sucks. We were at the very top of the league at one point in time, and now we're just barely scraping from the bottom of the barrel. So.
That's a good point. What's that meme? The guy pointing to his head saying, "Can't be upset about not winning the cup if you don't know what it's felt like to ever win it."
That's actually a good way to look at it. I never thought of it like that.
If you never had it in the first place, that's smart.
Very true.
Whatever.
I'm just kidding, obviously, guys.
So
one day, I'm sure.
I hope so. We thought this year was going to be a year where we, had a shot to do something, but it is. This team is a train wreck. But as far as this will tie into the Blues a little bit. So the Red Wings goaltending, Howard's contract's up after the season. What do you see them doing with the goaltending after this year? With the rumors today and everything about the Blues being interested in Howard, what do you want to see happen with the goaltending?
Really, honestly, I would be more than happy to trade Howard. I know Red Wing fans are going to be like, "Oh, she's always hated Howard." I really don't hate Howard. I'm fine with him. If they keep him, they keep him. But I don't want them signing him to another long-term deal. I personally never felt that Jimmy Howard was this Stanley Cup winning goaltender. And it's nothing really against him. I just don't see him as that kind of type. Not in Detroit, at least. Maybe a good change of scenery for the guy will do him some good. He's been amazing this year. I mean, between him and Larkin, he's been this team's backbone basically. But I mean, we are rebuilding. So in my opinion, if we're rebuilding, why keep Jimmy Howard when, we could just, bring some younger guy up or, I don't know. They signed Bernier for 3 years. So they signed him for 3 years. You might as well just move Jimmy Howard out, get something in return for him. What? I have no idea. But, you know, get someone pretty good, or prospects, or, you know, draft picks. And then that way, you know, we can really start this rebuild. That's just my opinion, though. I mean, Red Wing fans are going to hate me for saying that, because God forbid you say anything about a goaltender in Detroit.
Would you?
God.
Would you be interested in a Jake Allen swap?
I mean, honestly, at this point, I don't really care. I don't. I mean, like I said, you know, they already do have like a goaltender in Bernier, because I think he's pretty good. You know, I mean, again, I'm not 100% updated on like the Red Wings stats this year because of, you know, work and other stuff. But I mean, I just don't see the reason why they signed Bernier for 3 years if they intended to keep Howard. That makes no sense to me, really.
Because Allen's got was it 3 years left on his contract? Yeah. So I think the thinking today with as far as my perspective is concerned, this makes perfect sense to me, and we talked about it today, and I think you guys are on board with it. So if there's rumor to be Blues, I'm sure you've heard Blues interest in Howard. So, and that thinking would be that obviously I would assume Allen goes back the other way. Allen's a younger goaltender, maybe part of a rebuild. If they have faith in Allen as far as like getting a change of scenery or whatever, helping them be more consistent. I don't know, but so, and the Blues plan with that would be to let the contract expire with Howard at the end of the season, and then the Blues would be free of Allen's contract and free of any goaltender's contract, and then be able to pursue a different direction as far as, because I don't think, I mean, if it's as far as, you know, Howard's $1 million more for the Blues, and I don't, you know, Howard and Allen are comparable in a lot of ways. They're not a whole lot different, and I think I would say Howard's been a little better, but not substantially.
Right. Nothing.
But it makes $1 million more. But I don't think if you're, I mean, as far as if they're going to sign Howard at the end of his contract, then why not just keep Allen and, I know, maybe sign him for less. I don't know, but or keep him because he's 3 years yet. So let the contract expire and then go after like a Bobrovsky or whoever. There's not much out there free agency wise.
Right. No, so I can see that, definitely. I mean, I definitely would see where Blues fans would be coming from.
And I think Blues fans are kind of, I don't know if they're split, or if, I mean, from what I saw social media wise, it's kind of, I think a lot of people would like to see that happen, because honestly, most Blues fans are ready to move on from Allen. There's still a small faction that's hanging on to Allen, but I think fans are ready to see him out of here.
Are fans in St. Louis the same as fans in Detroit when it comes to like goaltenders? Like, are you guys very protective of your goalies usually?
Actually, Blues fans tend to run goalies out of town.
Oh,
a little bit. Yeah, except for, I mean, it's weird because usually that's a tough question, because I think in the past there's always been the Jake Allen fans,
right?
For whatever reason, because it was Jake Allen, it was Allen and Elliott. And then, Elliott, outplayed Allen, and then they let Elliott walk, and then they traded Elliott, and then and then Hutton came along, and Hutton outplayed Allen, and then they let Hutton go, and then now this season it's Johnson and Allen, and Johnson was outplaying Allen for a while, but Allen's playing much better the past month, this November.
Yeah.
So
November has been the his turnaround. Unfortunately, the team right around the same time,
right, and the team can't play. The team can't score as many goals now. It's just the Allen plays better, and we can't score like we used to. So that happened last year. Though last year we came out of the gates on fire offense wise. It lasted longer. It lasted until December.
Yeah,
but this season we're on fire offensively, and then we couldn't keep the puck out of the net. So yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I think at this point Blues fans would, and it's probably you seem a little indifferent about the goaltending with Detroit. I think Blues fan, me, I'll speak for me when I say that I am ready to move on from Allen. I'm done. I think with the way the team has been situated this season, especially, and the disappointment, and not that it's on Allen this season, it's been the team's a mess.
That's how I feel about Howard this year. But I still would I want to clarify, I want to trade him just because of the potential return that we could get. And, might as well. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent.
Now, rumor has it that Holland wants a first-round draft pick for Howard.
See, I don't know if they would actually do that. But, I wouldn't put it past Ken Holland. Obviously, he's going to try his best to do whatever, get potentially the best, available position out there, which that means, first-round draft pick. But, I don't know if he can actually pull that off. We'll see.
Well, the Blues don't have a first-round draft pick next year.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, trading him to the Blues is
actually we will have the first-round draft pick if it's top 10. If it's if we finish in the bottom 10 as top 10 pick, then it's protected. So we get to keep it.
Is it top 10 or is it just lottery protected?
It's top 10. 10.
Oh, okay.
So we have one if we finish shittily,
which they will
finish like we're playing now.
Right. If we keep the pace, we're gonna be like top 5 pick.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What is it? I've seen rumblings of tank for Hughes.
Oh yeah, I see Red Wing fans saying that too.
Oh, at least say it right, Bill. It's lose for Hughes.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Some rumblings about it. I haven't bought into it or anything. Yeah, I apologize.
Good. Thank you. I accept your apology.
The game tonight. I don't even know how to.
I'm speechless right now. Where to start?
Trying to get started and talk about this game. I thought the first period was from the Blues. Red Wings outplayed the Blues. They outplayed them badly on the shot department, but the Blues out hit them and had more takeaways and less giveaways and more block shots, and it was just a weird. And it didn't. And when I saw the shot total, I was like, "Really?" But it didn't. The Blues played awful first period. No pressure.
Yeah.
Flub shots. No flow to their game. Poor transition game. Passes not connecting. Poor communication. Guys not going where players think they're going, and that turnover by Dunn in our own zone. Just handed it. Tarasenko curled the one way, and Dunn thought he was going the other, and that's turnover. Right. And then Tarasenko made a drop pass on a play, and he had curled the one to the bench.
Yeah.
So it's just it was a mess of a first period, and I don't know, Kayla, what you thought as far as because when I saw the shot total, I was like, oh my gosh, Detroit didn't seem like it was 15-4 first period, even though I know we were outplayed. But it was just it seemed like a very boring period to me. Maybe I'm a Blues fan, but
no, I feel like they did, like you said, they kept up with them pretty, physically for the most part. But no, I would agree with you definitely. The Red Wings, I feel like the Red Wings don't get lucky, really, but like they kind of do. I feel like lately, like they've been coming back from a lot of different games so far this year, coming from behind, which is a good thing. I know they weren't behind this game, but they always like seem to find that extra push. And good thing we have Tyler Bertuzzi. I just love him so much because he just finds ways to make it happen for the Red Wings. He comes up clutch when he needs to. So that's always
he's kind of become, I feel like, the fan favorite of this group. What is it about him that kind of seems to attract fans to his game?
I think he's very edgy. Definitely, he's edgy. He's gritty, but he also can score. And you don't really see too many players in the league anymore today, in my opinion, that are a good combination of, all three, edgy, gritty, and can score. So, I think he's the total package as far as that goes. So it's good to see him stepping up to the plate, when other players, I won't say other players aren't stepping up to the plate, but when you just have a team like this, which you guys, I'm sure, kind of know about with your team right now, it's good to see young guys step up like that.
So you called him the total package. that means I would guess that keys to the Red Wings what Bill Day is to podcasting.
I mean, I guess so. I would agree with that, guys.
How do you like that, Bill? You already have an outsider telling you how great you are.
Speechless.
I am.
He has no words.
I am dumbfounded.
That is not something the God's gift to podcasters would do. Would be speechless. You need to have a.
I would have a witty retort.
Right.
It caught you off guard. It's okay.
No.
Jeff's
He
good.
did.
Jeff's good.
And, yeah.
Second period, Blues outshot Detroit 17-10. After a lazy, lackluster, awful start to the period for St. Louis that allowed Detroit to score 3 goals. With the help of a couple power play goals, made it a game in the second. So I had some gripes about these goals as far as the Blues performance goes. Obviously, Vanek left uncovered in the low slot for the first goal. Prime scoring area. This is a theme tonight. Red Wings left alone in prime scoring areas in the slot. Preco weak on the puck carrier, who was Nyquist, kind of went behind the net, allowed to find Vanek from behind the net, and Steen was slow in covering Vanek, and he had put a nice shot on net, and I think it went off the post and beat Allen. And then the second goal, Athos. I can never pronounce
Just call me A.
Athos A. I always want to say happy to see you. That's the way I hear it.
Yep, Anthony, see you.
Anthony, see you. Happy to see you. Scores at
Yep.
7-17.
It works too.
Sloppy pass from Blues off the Red Wings leg by Fabry. It was just outside the zone, and that the puck bounces back into the zone, and then Pietrangelo corrals it. And he sloppily whiffed on the clearing pass as he is skating backwards and kind of just flings it. It's not sloppy because he just whiffed on it. It's sloppy because he was skating backwards and he's kind of half-assed was going to smack it off the boards, and he missed it. He just whiffed on it. Lazy play, and it's kind of like a microcosm for his season this far. Pietrangelo just making plays like that all the time.
Yeah, I thought he had a strong game, except for the one or two moments, that being the most glaring.
That's the thing, is that with defensemen like that, and especially when it turns into a goal, it's like that's glaring. It's like if you play a nice, solid game defensively, it's what you're supposed to do. Unfortunately, when you make a mistake, that's like, oh my God, it gets pointed out.
Right.
But you know what? Pietrangelo is supposed to be your captain, your Norris Trophy candidate, which is not happening.
Yeah,
this season.
No, let's cut that shit out right now. Let's not even joke about that. I mean, he made a very great play earlier on in the period, taken away. I forget who it was, had a great setup down low in the slot, and he got a stick in to deflect it over the net.
Yes.
And then 12 minutes later, just forgets where he is and flubs the puck. And
and on this play after that, Atheneo was
just say happy.
Sounds like John Cherry. I just got to throw that out there. The way you put your pen name.
I just, I don't even. I half don't care if I say it right or not.
Right.
I don't. But left alone in a prime scoring area, Thomas never picks him up. And Green found him. Allen overcommitted a bit on the play. I'm going to say this, but again, I don't blame Allen at all. It was a gimme open net. He had 3/4 net to shoot at, and all kinds of own zone suckage on that play. So, and again, and not to take anything away from the Red Wings, because then teams win games by taking advantage of other teams' mistakes, and Detroit did that.
Right. No, I mean, I totally get it. Like I said, I hate saying the term, like the Red Wings just got lucky with that one, because it just makes it sound like, they just magically won, which they didn't. They played a good game. It's still, I don't know, like they could play better though. There's still moments where they could play better. So
I made a comment to the guys during the game. I was like, at points during this game, it was like these are. You could tell these two teams are where they were in the standings based on the play. Sometimes I was like, it didn't seem like there was a good flow to this game,
right?
From enough there wasn't this. Neither team was
lacklusting especially compared to Red Wings and Blues games from the past.
Right. And our frustration, we're just like everything is like standing out too. Like make a mistake, you're like outraged about it because it's just like one more thing.
Right.
So stuff doesn't get isn't overlooked as easily because it just happens all the time. And it's just pissing everybody off. So you can overlook mistakes and things can be. You can turn your head at a mistake if you're winning games, but no.
Right.
No, to side with you on the play, Kurt. I mean, there was multiple times where you could almost feel like, okay, there's a guy wide open over there. I mean, you see 4 guys on the screen. You're like, okay, where's the other guy? Okay, he's probably streaking up the wing, and he's not getting hit with a pass. I mean, that was both teams tonight. You felt like there was good breakout opportunities, and they both just missed it. Has that really kind of been a trend for the Red Wings most of the last couple of years during their rebuild?
Yes, definitely. I mean, that probably sums it up the best, honestly. I mean, they just they've been so streaky and not consistent. And I mean, I don't know, maybe they just come off that way to me because I'm so used to seeing them so good for so long, and then it's like, okay, well, they're not as good anymore, obviously. So maybe that's why. But they just recently started playing exciting hockey, I will say. The month of November is their best month, in my opinion, obviously, like out of combining last season too, I want to say. But other than that, yeah, I would agree.
Bob Rakowski in the YouTube chat says 4 more posts for the Blues. Still tied for the league lead in posts hit. We hit a lot of posts. We have hit a lot of posts this season.
That's like the worst thing too. Just hearing that ping is like, oh, unless it's like the other way around,
Oh, it's a goalie's best friend.
It's all they gave him. It's not even a shot on goal.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Did you see? Oh, go ahead, Bill.
I was just gonna say the Wings had one big post shot early on in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Off Jay Bouwmeester.
Off Jay Bouwmeester,
Right.
who
there you go.
the best fun Bobby look we've seen all year.
Somebody said it pretty good. I don't know, a couple weeks ago. A puck went off Bouwmeester and in. I think it was when he went down on all fours and then he kicked it in. Bouwmeester just can't get out of his own way. As soon as that happened, a deflection off of Bouwmeester and off the post, I'm like, man, if that goes in, it's like the guy is just cursed. He just can't do anything right.
Well, it's about where you're at positionally, and I think I've said this before on the show. I'm known in my teams, in my circles, as a defenseman who blocks a lot of shots that end up going in the net. So they call it pulling a ponder. I was officially told a couple nights ago, it's no longer called pulling a ponder. It's pulling a Bouwmeester.
Pulling a Bouwmeester.
Well, it's actually not a block shot. If it goes in the net, it's a deflection.
It sounds better.
You don't get credit for a block shot if it goes in the net.
It sounds better when I said it.
Right. LSGA in the YouTube chat said, predicting it now before anyone else, Blues will finish dead last and lose lottery, miss out on generational talent, and then take a puck-moving defenseman.
Eric Johnson's brother, Derek Johnson, will be drafted.
Yeah, and get him a season pass to Far Oaks Golf Club.
Eric Johnson, who has a goal tonight in the Colorado game.
Who was up 3-0 on Pittsburgh, by the way. So there you go. You can you're rooting for Colorado tonight, I guess.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Let's see, Bertuzzi's goal to make it 3-0 Wings, which was another man left alone in a prime scoring area. And this one pissed me off with Fabry because when he was skating back, he looked like he didn't care at all. He skated back way too deep he skated almost the top of the crease.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't look behind him. He was caught puck watching, and didn't bother to look behind him. His man was Glendening, who was behind him and didn't even react. He turned when he finally did see him. He didn't even react, and then ended up scoring. And it was awful defensive zone coverage, defensive zone awareness by Fabry. I thought Fabry's had a good year coming off the surgery. I've liked him this year for the most part. But this game, he had that bad pass and then that Bertuzzi goal he looked awful on. He didn't give a shit on that play. He literally didn't care. He was just like his hands were just hanging low on his stick, and he was just. I'm like, he wasn't even ready to do anything. It was so pathetic.
Yeah, his entire game tonight, he was flat. He had very little energy. He'd go into the corner with the puck and not come away with it. And just his speed just wasn't as apparent as it typically is. And I think that's the telltale sign with him. If he looks slow, his game's bad.
So this is about halfway through the game. The Wings are up 3-0, and I'm like, this is it.
Yeah,
and we're all pissed off, and Bill's pissed off, and he's tweeting this team's garbage, and all of a sudden the Blues storm back.
Not tweeting. Our private little conversation we had going on in
Right.
the time that I finished my little rants. It was 3-2.
Right.
So,
Yeah, they looked like they were definitely gonna, make a push for it and win that game. I was like, oh crap, here we go again. Red Wings are gonna collapse. But
Well, and this is, I was actually surprised to see the Blues come back in this game because that's not been their thing this year. If they get down, they're down.
right. When they came back, and made it 3-2, I thought, your comments. I think you alluded to this earlier about two bad teams. Nobody's ever out of it.
Yeah, no one's out of the game when two
summed it up.
Yeah,
Right.
true. Because I mean, the
Red Wings stopped playing and the Blues turned it on a little bit.
well, the Blues, we had a couple power play goals, so that helped. But yeah,
and
and
the Red Wings are pretty good on their penalty kill too. So that's why I for sure thought, I was like, oh man, something's up.
well, the Blues power play has been it's been good for most of the year, and it kind of went in the tank there for a while. Got 2 tonight, but yeah, we were what 5th or 6th in the league in power play. It was really good for most. I mean, we were losing, but we were still getting power plays,
Right.
goals. But and then we went like 1 for 24 or something stupid.
Pat Maroon went out of the lineup and they couldn't do anything. I don't think was he even on the power play tonight, and they were 2 for 3.
I didn't notice he was on or not.
Yeah, I only noticed that when he got knocked off the puck by Glenn Denning. This puck battle you cannot lose when you've got him by 4 inches and 50 pounds. It's disgusting.
Maroon has been
Pedestrian.
but just this season has been like I didn't expect him to tear it up, but I expected him to make his presence known more. It just hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So that's been disappointing. I mean, he's been hurt a little bit, but still, when he's been in the lineup, he has not really been that impact player that just physically. I mean, I don't know. So Perron scores on the power play on the rush, basically. Kind of splits the D on the right side and goes top shelf over Howard, who does what goalies do in that situation. He takes down the low stuff, and it's like, if you can beat me, if you can tuck it in that little 8-inch by 8-inch corner, whatever it is above my shoulder, by all means, go ahead. And he hit it. So
incredible individual effort to light a bit of a fire for the Blues.
Well,
I mean, he's got those hands. He played through 3 sticks, kept the puck going forward, got into a scoring location, and did what he needed to do.
And I from a Red Wings fan's perspective, you're probably thinking, God, what terrible defense. It's like,
yeah. I mean, I'm so used to it though, watching Detroit's defense ever since Nick Lindstrom left. So I mean, hey.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, a generational talent like Lindstrom, it's gonna.
Right. But it's not even just that. It's not like, oh, Lindstrom left and like our defense is like, okay. No, for some reason, when Lindstrom left, it's like everyone's souls got sucked out or something on this team who plays defense, because the whole entire defense just collapsed completely.
It's interesting to me how we'll talk about how nice a play that was by Perron, but it's all from a matter of perspective, because if it had happened to us, I'd have been like, well, that's a shitty defensive play. We should have, you get three guys should be able to stop one guy. Right. So it's just a matter of perspective, I guess. But And then Tarasenko gets a power play goal. It was the power play of broken sticks because I think 2 Red Wings players broke their sticks at different times in this power play.
You know, I don't know. Maybe it's not just Red Wings, but I feel like the Red Wings are like known for breaking their damn sticks, like so often.
It's a shame there's no stat for that.
I know, because we would definitely be leading it right now.
Broken sticks on the power play, especially when you on the penalty kill.
Yeah.
That's rough. Then you got for whatever reason when I see a penalty killer break a stick, I always think when Oshie played for us, it was overtime, right? It was overtime. We're killing a penalty, and he breaks his stick, and he tries to go to the bench to get another stick.
Yeah.
In overtime, killing a penalty.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, and it was a 4-on-3 power play. So I was like, and they scored. I was thinking that. I was thinking, oh man, the power play on the penalty kill, broken stick, go to the bench. I'm like, TJ Oshie.
Yep, that's just what you think. See, I always think whenever you bring up like broken sticks, I always think Nick Lindstrom because he was on the power play. I remember one time too, and he took a shot from the blue line and his stick snapped. I think it was a playoff game. I'm not 100% positive, but I want to say it was. And I don't know. I just remember him being so frustrated that the damn stick broke right at that opportunity.
Speaking of sticks breaking at the inopportune times, who was it? Was it? I think it was Ablocator. This must have been like 5 years ago or so.
Yes.
In overtime, he scored a goal with a broken stick. You remember that against the Blues? You remember that?
I kind of do. I want to say I do. Yes.
My daughter and I remember being so angry at that moment. And my daughter, she was like, 4 years old at the time. So she's sitting there watching the game with me, and she's to this day, she remembers how angry I was. Remember when that Red Wing player scored with a broken stick and how angry you got?
Yep.
Oh, I think it's adorable. I mean, I would be angry too. I mean, I can't stand Ablocator. I'm sorry. Like his contract's just ridiculous. He's getting paid like practically like he's Sidney Crosby or something. It's just insane. So, I mean, I would be mad too.
And Douglas Johannes in the YouTube chat says, I remember that broken stick goal. I was screaming at the TV.
Yep. NBC had to move on to golf.
Yeah.
It was the Saturday or Sunday afternoon game of the week, 11:30 St. Louis start time. And NBC had a prior commitment, so they rushed off the air to get golf on.
Yeah.
And I like golf, and
they left the game when we were still wondering if they were going to like something was going to happen, go like challenge it or something, and they didn't.
That was pre-challenge, pre-coach's challenge.
Or they were, okay.
With NBC, that doesn't surprise me. I want to say I do remember that though now, especially that part. I remember.
I remember that. I remember there's a handful of Red Wings Blues moments that stick out in my brain. Right, Jeff? Right, Jeff?
I'm waiting for you because she's got Steve Yzerman over her left shoulder, and I'm waiting for you to mention the goddamn goal.
Oh yeah, the overtime goal, the infamous overtime goal. Well, I didn't want to be a rude guest. I didn't want to come on here and be like, "Hey guys, remember when Yzerman scored that winning goal?" And they moved on. But you know what the sad thing is, though? I mean, it was a great moment. Don't get me wrong, because oh my God, Detroit fans are going to kill me if I don't say it's a great moment. It's a great moment, but they did go on and to lose to Colorado. So I mean, I don't know. It's a great moment. Again, don't get me wrong. It's just, in my opinion, 1997 and 1998 were so much. There's so many better moments, I guess, to relive, in my opinion, just because.
Sure. Well,
I mean, they did start their rivalry with Colorado that year, so that was good. But still, they lost to Colorado.
I mean, I get Blues fans. One of the greatest moments is in a series we lost, the Monday Night Miracle goal. The comeback in Game 6, winning in overtime, and then we lost in Game 7. So if you ask a Blues fan, what's the greatest moment in Blues history? 8 out of 10 are going to tell you Monday Night Miracle, and it's in a series we lost.
Right.
So,
I just didn't want to rub it. I didn't want to be mean.
Oh no, you're not the one that would do it. It's Kurt. He mentions it every goddamn show.
Oh, okay.
Well,
not me. It's the Blues fan. Don't worry, guys.
I was working at the Elks Lodge. I was a waiter, and in between the first and second overtime, I rushed home to catch the second overtime at home, and I just sat down on the couch for the start of the second overtime, and it was pretty early in the second overtime. I think like 3 or 4 minutes in, something like that, maybe. I don't know. And
I think so.
And I sat there and I was just, it was probably the most devastating Blues moment in my life, probably.
Yeah, definitely was. I had gone to 4 or 5 playoff games that year. And it felt like the year of destiny. We had Gretzky,
Yeah, you couldn't have gotten more stacked than your team.
Gretzky, Hull, McInnes, Pronger,
Shane
Corson, who,
Grant Fuhr.
He was a good depth center.
Grant Fuhr. Fuck you, Nick Kiprios.
Yeah. Nick.
But
Murray Barron.
second time around for Barron in St. Louis, right?
But you say Gretzky, but Gretzky is the one that mishandled the puck at center and just led to Yzerman just swiping the puck from him, and then
seriously, Kurt, can you stop? Every show.
I'm being polite to our Red Wings guest.
Okay, so next week when you talk about it, what's your excuse going to be?
I don't talk about it ever. Anyway, where are we? Third period. Perron ties the game on a scramble in front. Fabry intentionally passed this puck to Perron. I saw him.
You talked to him after the game?
No, but I can tell. When I watched it, you could see that the way he passed it backhand style he saw Perron. Because he wasn't shooting. His follow through wasn't a shot follow through. It was a pass follow through. I guarantee you. But it was either way. I mean, it was a nice goal. Perron going to the net, finding the loose puck, nice play.
Right. The one guy that played with fire. Although the beginning of the game, I thought he played. I thought he looked a little slow and apathetic, but as the game went on, he got strong. Obviously, 2 goals, great individual effort.
Sure.
Finished off that scramble play. He and O'Reilly are the 2 guys that are kind of clicking offensively.
Right. So
not together, but they're working.
Right. Gong show.
That's exactly what that sounded like.
That's what happens when your hand hits the springs on the mic arm.
I was going to say, you guys have drums and everything. That's pretty cool.
Sound effects.
Stickers, drums.
There you go. A xylophone or.
Yeah. Something.
And then the Red Wings get the go-ahead goal with at 13:07 to make it 4-3. Not a goal that was not that unlike Perron's goal. Kind of a puck that found him on the side of the net, kind of open net to shoot at on the side of the net. So 5 minutes after Perron's game-tying goal, and that one held. Blues had some chances.
Yeah. It didn't feel like those games when the Blues had the one goal lead late in the third against the Wings back in the day, and the tide was going to change. Datsuk or Zetterberg were going to score within the final 13 seconds.
That always happened.
Always.
Every time the Blues had a lead against the Wings back in that era, every damn time they would tie the game. Every time.
I miss Datsuk so much. See, I mean, I miss Zetterberg too. I know he left this year, but I mean, Datsuk was like, okay, when Lindstrom left, we had one great defenseman left, and that was Datsuk. I know he wasn't a defenseman, but he might as well have been. And then when Datsuk left, that's actually when our whole entire team and our defense especially collapsed. But yeah.
How many times he won the Selke? Datsuk.
Selke, I want to say 3. Wait,
he won
17.
1, 2, 3 times.
3 times?
Nice.
I completely guessed on that. I'm actually surprised I got it right. I thought you said 6 then, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna sound like an idiot.
He finished pretty high. He finished third 3 times, and so he was it was 7, 8, 09, and 9, 10. Triple in a row. The turkey of Selke trophies.
The turkey.
Selke trophies to me, it's the same who's who of players every year. Mm-hmm. Datsuk was truly, to me, the last defensive player, defensive forward who earned it every single year. And I'm not saying Bergeron and Taves, they're great, but I feel like it's a lazy pick now. It's, oh, well, Bergeron's still playing in the league, so let's give him a vote.
No, I would definitely agree with that. There's never any variety.
Yeah, but with Datsuk, I feel like he was the last real player that should have been there every single year.
I don't know. I think Rick Mahar was the last real defensive forward to win the Selke. Blues great.
No,
Rick Mahar.
No, what I mean, I don't mean that. No, what I mean is Rick Mahar is nowadays. I know he did. Nowadays, it's the same guys. Whereas even 10 years ago, I don't think it was like that. It's Kessler, Taves, and
I was just gonna say it's Kessler.
Yeah.
If you're a high scoring forward and you can play defense a little bit,
you're pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah. You gotta be able to score.
Well, as a Red Wing fan, I appreciate hearing that though. That's awesome.
He scared the crap out of me. You couldn't get the puck from him, and he was just so slick and smooth.
Really?
And it's like he wasn't trying. Yeah, he was never. It was almost like he didn't even try, but he was just like it was. That's why it was so frustrating, because you get these guys that trying to defend him and they're working their asses off, and he's just like. It seemed like he was just. I mean, he wasn't, but it seemed like he was just coasting around, and so it came so easy.
Yeah, fluid.
Very fluid, very nonchalant almost, but not nonchalant. It was just
right.
It's kind of a really good player when you can say, well, it doesn't look like they're trying hard, even though they are.
It's like he was just natural at what he did. Like it's almost like other players had to like learn how to do what he did, and he just like knew it.
Yeah, we talked about the Jimmy Howard rumor, what's the Wings are what 4? They were 4 points out of a playoff spot. Now I guess they're depends on what happened ahead of them. I guess they're about 2 out. Do you expect the Wings to make the playoffs this season? Were you expecting that coming in, or what were your hopes?
I wasn't expecting them to make the playoffs. I'd be surprised if they did, but at the same time, I don't know. The Eastern Conference, I feel like, is pretty weak this year. Well, in my opinion, the Eastern Conference is always pretty weak compared to the West. I don't know what it is, but I love the Western Conference as far as just all around talent goes. But I mean, they could make the playoffs, but at this point, I doubt it. They're just way too streaky and inconsistent for me.
Douglas Johannes, I assume I'm pronouncing that correctly. Douglas, happy to see you. I'll just pronounce it that way. Happy to see you in the YouTube chat. Says we also have Punch a Red Wings fan in the face day. It is 119 this season. That's a thing in St. Louis.
Really? When is it? I'll make sure to avoid St. Louis that day.
Didn't now correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't what's his name kind of start that the sports talk guy? What's his name?
Yeah, what's his name? Yeah, that guy. Yep.
The shoot, what is his name?
Bill. What's his name?
He's on ESPN radio right now. He's like the
Bill
Randy Carricker. He always talks about that. I don't know if that's his thing, if it's kind of like taken off, or if he is just using it.
Well, what day is it again? I want to make sure I send a letter to Jonathan Erickson and let him know to be in St. Louis that day.
March 21st,
okay.
2019.
It's when the Red Wings are in town.
Right.
Well, maybe Jonathan Erickson will be in town too, and then everyone should just punch Jonathan Erickson in the face. He's a huge Red Wings fan, I heard.
Oh, great. Well, we'll do that.
What else we got to talk about? Let's see. Yeah, Douglas Johannes said Randy Carricker. It's his thing. That's what I thought. And Bob Rakowski goes, tonight's game wasn't enough misery. We have to recap every loss the Red Wings ever.
Yeah, I know what
that would take a while.
You guys want to know what? Honest to God, this is a real story. So I have asthma, and go ahead and make fun of me.
Asthma person.
I haven't had a flare up since I was a teenager. The last flare up I had was, oh boy, I can't believe I'm telling this story to our listeners. Brent Johnson was in goal. It was the playoffs. I think it was 2003, and they're playing the Red Wings. And he took the puck, and he always tried to clear it up center, which drove me nuts. Shot it right into Steve Yzerman's shin guard, and bounced right into the net. Do you guys remember that?
I don't, but
it was a playoff. It was a playoff game. They already were down like 2-0 or 2-1 late in the third, and he tried to do this home run up the middle pass, and it went right. I mean, Yzerman was right in front of him, and he shot it right into his shin guard, and it bounced straight into the net. I jumped up on my couch. Fuck this, fuck that, screw you, Brent Johnson. I mean, I was losing my mind. Next thing I know, I can't breathe. And I'm like, the Blues are gonna kill me. Literally, they're going to kill me.
That is great. I mean, it's not great. I mean, it's great that you survived.
So it's funny now.
So there's the overtime goal from Yzerman. There's that play by Yzerman. There's the low bridge on Pronger to take him out in the playoffs and took out his knee. Not really Yzerman's fault. I mean, he was ducking out of the way, but Pronger was going to destroy him. But so yeah, I mean, Yzerman is really kind of fucked over the Blues quite a bit.
There's the time that Fedorov stole the puck from Gretzky too. Do you guys remember that? Like, the only reason I remember it is because I went on YouTube and I was looking up Fedorov plays, and he really like just stole the puck right from him. And how many players can honestly say they stole the puck from Gretzky?
Yzerman can.
Yeah, Fedorov can too.
Picked up a lazy play.
Yeah, well, it's probably a turnover. So I don't know.
So Jeff, that was the 2002 playoffs. I just looked up the video, and yes, now I remember it. And thank you for taking us back down. Any other memories that you care to bring out?
I just hope I don't have another asthma attack if I start dreaming about it tonight.
You have an inhaler? Do you have an inhaler nearby or something? Or
I have it in my pocket at all times.
Yeah.
Although I haven't used it. Like I said, I've used it since high school, and so I don't. This is probably like 5 years out of date.
So it probably expired like 14 years ago.
I'm sure. Well, I've gotten updates, but I don't think I've done it in a long time. That's probably bad. Hopefully, my doctor's not listening.
Hopefully.
All right. What else we got here? I don't know what else. I don't know what we want to talk about.
Are you serious? Host?
What do we? Oh, what? I mean, we've gone over everything on the list here. I think. I mean, we have some other stuff to do. I don't know if Kayla wants to hang around for that. I mean, we got the social media fails, which we can do. If you have to go, Kayla, you can just say, "Hey, I gotta go." I want to keep you.
I thought I was held here against my will. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
no, I mean, yeah, I probably will go, and I'll let you guys, talk about your team and your fans listen to what you guys have to say. I will say I had a blast though, especially reliving all these Red Wings memories on this Blues podcast. So it's been a great night for me.
Oh, Kurt.
Yeah, you're welcome. You want to
show?
You want to let people know where they can find you?
Yeah, if anyone wants to follow me, I promise I'm not one of those mean Red Wing fans that's always like, oh my God, we have 11 Stanley Cups, blah, blah, blah. I'm reliving our history. So, I promise I'm not one of those kind of annoying, arrogant fans. We do have a lot of them in our fan base. I'm sorry, but it's very embarrassing when your team is the way it is now, and all they can do is be like, oh, well, you remember in the 50s when no one cares. No one cares about that anymore. So, yeah, give me a follow on Twitter at KLovesRedWings. It's KYLUVS Red Wings.
Well, thank you for coming on and yeah, reliving old Blues and Red Wings.
Yeah, thanks so much.
What's your YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel is K Loves Hockey, and again, LUVS for the loves. Okay. But yeah, I promise to be getting a new video up. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks, definitely. I'm gonna make it a definite thing in the next 2 weeks. Can't really guarantee a time, but yeah, I like talking about all hockey, not just the Red Wings. So definitely subscribe to me there if you want. Follow me on Twitter, K Loves Red Wings on Twitter, K Loves Hockey for YouTube. So, but thank you guys so much. I had a lot of fun.
Cool.
Of course. Thanks for coming up.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. with the rumors today as far as Howard goes, if the Blues were to acquire Howard and then let the contract expire, there's a list of free agent goalies available. So currently, as of right now, listed to be free agents by the end of the season. Oh, that's small print. I got to read that too. Who do you guys want to see the Blues go after if that scenario happens? So if we have no goalies under contract, it's a clean slate. We can either. I mean, there's some free agents available, but what do you see the Blues do?
I think you almost have to bite the bullet and say, okay, hopefully Husso or Binnington or even Fitzpatrick are ready. And I'm not saying you let them start, but if you find a good guy that could maybe split, the name that's shooting out to me looking at this list is former Blues great Brian Elliott. But and he's had health problems, but this year he hasn't been awful. His numbers are pretty good. But
Available via waiver wires soon.
That's true. But Jimmy Howard, obviously, if he could come in, if that's what happens, and he plays well, he's 34. You could say, okay, let's sign him to a 1-year deal, 2-year deal, if he's willing to accept that. And again, you could see him kind of splitting time with Husso, or again, whoever that would be. But yeah, looking at the list of free agents, you mentioned it, Kurt. So this is from Cap Friendly, correct?
Yes.
So if you run down the list here, your top 5 they have listed are Bobrovsky, Semyon Varlamov, Mike Smith, who has just been a train wreck in Calgary, Jimmy Howard, and Cam Talbot, which
those are sort of by cap hit, by the way.
Yeah, it's by cap hit. And then you got Cam Ward, Brian Elliott, Michael Neuver. You kind of start getting into a little bit of dicey there. So Cam Talbot's interesting, but he's kind of had his problems in Edmonton. So really at this point, and I hate to say it like this because you always need to plan for the future, and I feel like that's kind of Armstrong's biggest problem is he doesn't seem to plan for the future. But if you can get out of that Allen contract, deal with who your goalie is going to be next summer, and just do what you can to free up some cap space. And maybe a trade becomes available, who knows? But at this point, you just got to find a way to get out of that bad contract on a subpar goalie.
But Jeff, Allen's contract is not that bad, according to some people.
See, here's the thing, and of course, talking about this now, you're gonna get people saying, "Well, Jake Allen had a good game; he's played great." Yeah, but like Bill has said multiple times, wait till January or February, then we'll talk about who's playing well. It's not going to be Jake Allen.
Or wait till next week, or wait till 2 weeks from now. The pendulum will swing back the other way. It always does.
Well, I think we've gotten beyond all of that at this point anyway. I think that after the disastrous start to this season, when he's getting booed by the home team fans in game 1, that should have been the point at which they said, you know what, he cannot succeed here. He's not going to get the support from the fan base. His team, especially fast forward 5 games and the team's like not playing in front of him. You've got to. The decision at that point, I think, was clear. Hopefully you can find a way out from under the contract. I personally dislike this whole Jimmy Howard thing because I think you're going to have to overpay to unload him. You're going to have to give up one of the names. We don't have the first round draft pick, but
you think that Detroit can command a first round pick for Howard? You think somebody will give it to him for Howard?
They don't have to take anything for him.
I know, but and we talked with Kayla that if they don't, if they're not making the playoffs and they don't trade him, they lose him for nothing, and they could get an asset for him.
Yeah, but they can also wait until the trade deadline for a team that's pushing.
Right.
He's going to back up. Yeah, some team will bring him in as a backup at the trade deadline. They'll get an asset for him. That's not the problem.
Right, but a team's not going to give up a first round pick for a backup goalie.
Right,
a rental.
Right. The earlier that you trade for him, though, the more that he'll command.
Yeah.
What did Ben Bishop get in Tampa? when he was traded to LA that year. Was that a 3rd-round pick?
I think so.
Yeah.
2nd or 3rd.
And that was right at the deadline.
And Bishop's a much younger. I mean, the concerns for him were, could he stay healthy?
Yeah, but Bishop's ceiling was a lot higher than Howard's is. And I don't think Detroit can command a 1st-round pick for Howard. I really don't. He's only marginally better than Allen. I mean, he's playing very well this season,
right?
Which I guess is all that matters to some team who might want to get him at the deadline if he's still playing well. I get it. But his career, he's only a tick better than Allen.
Right.
I mean,
which is why
better.
I'm not excited about it.
No, I'm not excited about him. I'm not excited about getting him for the purposes of this season. I'm excited when I first saw the rumor that the Blues were interested. I got excited because that would mean, if that's true, that would mean the Blues have recognized that they may want to move on from Allen. That's what I got excited about. I got, okay, there might be some movement in net. And I wasn't excited about Howard. I've never really liked Jimmy Howard as a goalie. He's always been, he played on some good teams early in his career, and I think he benefited from that. And I think he's an okay goalie at best. But he's played good this year.
Well, why I'd be excited. I'm echoing. Damn it.
Again?
Yeah, I don't understand why that just happens mid-show.
And just to you.
Well, you guys are in the same room. Maybe that has to do with it. I don't know.
Go ahead. Better?
Well, anyway, so yeah, much better. Mark that on the tape to edit. So anyway, and what I just said, that too, and this.
Shut up, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I'd be excited about it is like you said, Kurt. That the Blues are finally willing to say, okay, Jake Allen's not who we thought he was, but also that I'd be excited about the Blues having a clean slate in goal heading into next season. Again, that opens up the possibility. Maybe you're looking at a young guy who could step up, but you're also looking at trade opportunities. Jay Bomeister's contract comes off the books, so maybe that's a good push for the Blues to go after Bobrovsky. I mean,
I think
whatever it would be, it's exciting to me because that time of year, for one thing, is just exciting in general. If there's a hole your team needs filled, no sexual pun intended. But it's also exciting because we've all bitched about the goaltending for how long now? I mean, it'd be nice to have a change of pace and say, okay, let's see what this guy can do.
I think if Bobrovsky is at all on the Blues radar, if they were to, I'm not kidding you, I would be ecstatic if they could somehow sign Bobrovsky. That would be amazing to me. That would be like, I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love for it to happen. Or that would be, all of a sudden, that's a game changer, as opposed to, especially with the other goalies that are on the free agent list. There's not a whole lot out there. So I mean, that's the guy,
right?
No. I mean, he's going to be. And how many times does a guy like Bobrovsky actually become a free agent?
Right.
It doesn't happen.
Right. And I think the Blues' best possibility of getting him here and him being the guy is that they have to trade for him
and then
year.
sign him.
And then
agree.
Hope that they go on a tear once he gets here, convince him this is where he belongs, and sign him. But otherwise, you trade for him. He comes in, the team, struggles, maybe does marginally better. He's gone anyway. There isn't a whole lot out there, and you'd have to get really creative with the trade. I don't trust Doug Armstrong ever making a goaltending decision. I've said this how many times, but every fucking goaltending decision the man has ever made has been wrong. And, Elliott over Halak, okay, that could have worked out had you kept Elliott. But no, you gave up Halak for Ryan Miller, and then begrudgingly gave it to Elliott, and then when he demanded to be called number one, you traded him, and you said no, it's Jake Allen, and Jake Allen's been terrible.
Yeah, how dare the leading save percentage and leading goals against average and leading shutout getter in Blues history
number one.
Asked to be number one goalie, and you don't give it to him. How dare! I said, well, how dare he request that? Did you see that from Mr. Blues Hat?
The 5%.
Yeah, but Howard is 5% better. And
that's a quote that I was, and we've talked about it. You can't find it anywhere. I've tried finding it before. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's like the Blues pulled a 1984 and erased it from the records. But yeah, that is a quote to me that defines Doug Armstrong as the Blues GM.
Yeah, Crosby, I guess, has 3 goals this period to
tie this
Pittsburgh.
Game.
Yeah, tied it back up 3-3. Wow.
Insane.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you about Bobrovsky, and the best chance to sign him would be to trade for him. And now that's a case where you'd have to give up.
Right. You're giving up
big name prospect,
Thomas or Kyrou.
Yeah, and the fact that the Thomas and Kyrou's names were thrown out to get Howard is a joke.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
If that's even in the conversation,
that's like, no thanks.
Yeah.
No, I don't think. I mean, Blues social media has been united on that. That's if Armstrong were to do that, he won't. First off, we didn't have to give that up to get O'Reilly. I mean, we give up picks, but
you make a very great point.
So
at this.
I do.
Yeah. if we brought in the team's leading goal scorer and didn't have to give up those 2 guys,
why would we give up career wise, bottom half of the league goalie? I mean, really.
Right.
So
after Nick Lidstrom
left,
they couldn't.
Right. And again, he's been good this year. Howard has.
Yeah, and he was good last year. And I've said this on Twitter. If the reason that I would be accepting of as long as the trade involved in Allen for Howard swap is just because it gives you a clean slate next year, and the Blues have plenty of options in goal and get away from Jake Allen. But if it comes down to because that's what Detroit wants. Detroit. They're going to go into every negotiation for trade and say, all right, who's your top 3 prospects? We want one of those guys. That's how they're going to go into conversations. And it reminds me, and you guys may remember this, I think it was the year the Blues got Tkachuk and Mellenby. There was talks they were going to get Eric Lindros. And, Blues fans were like, no. And the front runner that we kept hearing was Pavel Dimitro was headed the other way. And everybody was like, you got to be kidding me. No, what are you doing? What are you doing? Then all of a sudden, I think it was Mellenby and Tkachuk. They come back the other way instead in 2 separate trades. And that's what I'm kind of wondering if that's what's going on here, is that the Red Wings are coming out saying, we want Thomas, we want Kyrou. They're telling, whoever's leaking the information is saying, that's who we're asking for. But the Blues aren't going to budge on that. If Armstrong budges on that, he should be fired right after the trade's announced. I mean, you can't trade your future for 1, a guy who's a UFA next year, 2, a guy who's 34, and 3, like you said, a guy that is not even a top 10 goalie in the NHL at this point, nor was he probably ever. So I don't see that happening, but I do see the Blues probably trading. I could honestly see a Klim Kostin getting moved in this deal.
Yeah,
I could see that.
So the Klim Kostin thing, I talked on Twitter about this earlier today, that Kyrou and Thomas are a no for me, obviously. Kostin is I wouldn't want to see him go, but I wouldn't be overly upset about it, I guess.
Right. You really hope that he becomes a player for this team, because then you can say, holy shit, we traded Ryan Reeves for this guy.
Yeah. But I mean, in the end, you could look at it like this too. I mean, well, we traded Ryan Reeves to get Kostin, to then get Howard, to then get out of Allen's contract, to then sign Bobrovsky. Yeah. So that would be worth it. If you were to tell me that, okay, in the end, don't worry about it, you give up Kostin, but then you're getting you're able to sign Bobrovsky. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's a no-brainer then.
So I want to backtrack a little bit to a comment Jeff just made kind of offhandedly about Armstrong getting fired if he makes that trade like that he should. Why isn't that the conversation? I guess we're hearing more and more of it, but goddamn, what this guy has made some brilliant moves, but he can't get out of the moves.
Yeah.
The bad moves that he's made.
Let's talk about Armstrong. It's actually fascinating to talk about Armstrong because he has made where everyone's aware he made some shitty deal. I mean, some shitty contracts. A lot of them. Bouwmeester, Allen, Laterra.
Yeah.
And so he turns around and he pulls off some moves that, oh my God, that's
right.
So I guess
unloading the Laterra contract for Braden Shen.
Yeah, in one hand you have the shitty contracts that he gave out. On the other hand, you have the fact that he is correcting those mistakes later on. So, and to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of negative things to say about Armstrong. I have some, but I don't have a lot of negative things to say about him recently because the last 2 off seasons, he has initially his moves or not, the last 2 off seasons, the moves he's made have been really, really good. I mean, I praised them at the time. I mean, when the 2 off seasons ago, the whole Laterra thing and trading Reeves and getting Cobb's like fantastic. It was fantastic. I mean, moving Laterra for anybody was great, and then getting Shen, it's like, oh my God. And then, which is actually mostly why Hextall got fired,
right?
Was the Laterra trade. So that just shows how good a trade that was. It got another GM fired, partially. But
I actually heard that was because he did not want to bring in Joel Quenneville.
Yeah, I heard he didn't want to bring in Quenneville. Oh, because he's sticking with his own coach. Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to stick with Hextall.
I heard that. Yeah, Hextall is sticking with Hextall.
Yeah.
I heard that. But the article also said that the Laterra trade probably didn't help any. So, and then you have the last offseason where getting O'Reilly and then signing Perron. Now Bozak, the jury is out on Bozak for me still. I mean, I knew at the time that he was overpaid. I thought that's too much for him. But I thought, well, if the team's good and he's contributing on the third line, that's fine. He's an overpaid third liner, but as long as he's producing. But he's not. I mean, he's got 11 points or something in like 22 games or whatever. It's like,
and an ever-changing cast of
players.
I know.
That's
the problem for him.
I know.
Well, and you also have to consider too that I think that signing helped cement bringing Ryan O'Reilly here, because when he was signed, I think that was Armstrong throwing the middle finger up to Buffalo, saying, "All right, you don't want to work with me, then I'll just sign someone else." And at the end of the day, that brought in Ryan O'Reilly later in the day. So, yeah, I mean, I'm on the other side of Kurt, which we'll get into in a minute. I'll let Kurt finish, but that's a signing that I'm okay with because it did overall, I think, make the Blues a better team. At least it should have.
I'm up or down. I'm up and down with Armstrong. Because last 2 off seasons, and I'd be a hypocrite right now if I were to say that I want Armstrong gone. Only because I was fully on board with the last basically 2 years with the moves he's made. So I was happy with that. So I think, okay, I'm not gonna. And this last offseason, I was like, the team has vastly improved. And I thought coming into the season, the only real issue was Allen. And I really wished, my only complaint from Armstrong was he didn't do more. And that was go after Grubauer or somebody as opposed to sticking with Allen. So that was my gripe because I thought Allen was going to hold this team back, which it remains to be seen. But so I'd be a hypocrite right now if I said that I wanted Armstrong gone, just because I was fully on board with the last 2 offseason moves, even though those moves were moves to correct, most of them were moves to correct bad contracts he handed out in the first place.
Right.
Well, so first of all, you guys do know that they asked Armstrong after this game, what are you going to do? And he said he's going to reach out to Vladimir Sobotka and see if he's interested in coming back. Bill, I'll let you make your point.
I was just going to say, Kurt talked about how, the one thing he wished he would have done was address the Allen situation. I think the Allen situation is ultimately the problem that, that is most emblematic of this team's failures. We haven't, as I said 10, 15 minutes ago, he has made every wrong decision when it comes to goaltending, and he hasn't done enough to fix that problem. And
it is the most important position on the ice.
Yeah,
I am fully on board with that. The goaltending thing has always pissed me off.
It's not just Allen, it's all the other moves. It's the cumulative bad goaltending decisions that he's made over his career that I think it's time that we need to bring in somebody like, and that was my hope for Marty Brodeur. He's a guy that gets goaltending, and now he's gone out of the organization. Not that I wanted him to be the coach guy, but to get Allen's head straight every year. But I wanted him to be the guy to say, hey, Doug, this guy's not the answer. You need to find somebody who's mentally strong and go for him.
Armstrong's under contract for another 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the thing. He's under contract, but does Tom Stillman have the contacts? I think his contact to the hockey world is Doug Armstrong.
Yeah, well,
Who can he bring in?
I think he's been around long enough to. All
right.
Go ahead.
So say, while Kurt's getting all huffy, I want to step in.
Let's use pearls.
It's an interesting conversation. It's just go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, anyone who's listened to the show for any length of time knows that since the Ryan Miller trade, I've been on the time for this guy to go. I always go back to the Derek Roy signing. I know that was 1 year, but $4 million for a guy who had been booted off 3 other teams because he was underperforming. And then just constant. I mean, Steve Ott, the reaction signing to Steve Ott after Sobotka left. And then just Bill said it last week, and you just basically said it again, that goaltending is Armstrong's legacy here in St. Louis. I mean, he's going to leave here, and he's going to be remembered like Larry Plow was remembered as the GM who overpaid everyone. Doug Armstrong, while he does overpay as well, is going to be remembered for making horrible goaltending situations. I mean, you look at the Ryan Miller trade again. Maybe long term that trade didn't hurt us too bad, but Jarro Halak was really not that much different than Ryan Miller, and that was supposed to be this big Stanley Cup winning move. When really, you look back at that roster. I'm telling you, do that right now. Look back at that Blues roster. That was not that impressive of a roster. Of the last 10 years, that's one of the least impressive ones. And that was the Stanley Cup team that he tried to draw together. And then, I mean, and I'll agree with you guys too that this last 2 off seasons, it's hard to get mad. And I even said that, I think, after the Braden Shen trade. On the next show after that, I said, man, it's really hard to hate Doug Armstrong now. And because, I mean, that was a good deal for the Blues. And then again, the Ryan O'Reilly trade, great deal for the Blues. But he's correcting his own mistakes, which is good that he's able to step in and say, okay, I made this mistake. I need to try and find a way to rectify it. But you shouldn't be making those mistakes in the first place. I mean, GMs are going to make mistakes. You know, any GM in the league. One of the greatest GMs in sports, George Steinbrenner, God rest his soul. He probably would tell you he's made a couple mistakes in his day. Ken Holland has probably made a bunch of mistakes, but there's the ones that Armstrong makes are overwhelming to me. I think there are just so many times where it's a head scratcher. Again, I go back to the Steve Ott signing. They traded for him in the Ryan Miller trade. Then they sign him to an extension after Sobotka leaves, same day. Every single person, every NHL pundit, every fan, every analyst was saying, that guy, you're signing him to $3 million? That guy? And it was a reaction to, well, I just lost my homeboy in Sobotka. I got to go get somebody to replace him. When really, at the end of the day, you probably didn't have to replace him. You could have probably brought up a young guy at $500,000, $600,000 a year to be that guy. But instead, he blew money that he didn't need to blow. And again, you can make that case for so many of his contract signings. I think he's great at trades, but his signings and his problems with goaltending, that is what's going to cause him to lose his job in the end.
I agree with you on a lot of that stuff. But I think it's strange to if the Blues were to come out and fire him now. I mean, the current play of the team notwithstanding, but I think the Blues missed their window of opportunity to fire him. I mean, because there was a point in time where you legitimately could have said, all right, this is not, these deals are not making any sense. These contracts are terrible. We're not. But if Stillman were to come out tomorrow and say Armstrong's fired, that would be strange to me, especially since he has 3 years left on his contract, and because of his recent moves. I think if you're going to fire him, it would have happened a couple of years ago. I don't think it's going to happen now.
It should have been a clean cut with Armstrong and Hitchcock both out on their asses, and then Mike Yeo.
Yeah, I didn't.
Or was it bringing in Mike Yeo to be the heir apparent?
I hated that. I hated the heir apparent. Like everybody did. Everybody hated that. That was just a dumb thing to do.
Well, Bill, I think you missed this show, but if you go back to one of our early shows last season, Kurt and I were talking about the do you extend Doug Armstrong? And I said, well, yeah, maybe a year, after this trade. That was a big deal. And the Ryan Reeves trade in the same draft, that was a good trade for the Blues. And then I said, but I bet he gets like a 4-year extension. And Kurt goes, oh, yeah, I mean, I would want to sign him back but God, not for 4 years. And that's exactly what he got. And and then you go back to that show after that signing, all three of us were like, it's a little soon. Like, you got all year to re-sign him. Why don't we see how the rest of the season goes?
I know. I was going to say, it's like the Blues MO, right? It's like the thing with Allen's contract, too soon. Laterra's contract, too soon.
Jay Bomeister.
Ott. What do you do? It's too quick. It's knee jerk. What are you doing? Mm-hmm. Well, it's just all this. Yeah, I don't. It's almost like these contracts aren't run by other people first.
Right. Either that, or we're insecure that we can actually keep people here without overpaying them or paying them too quickly.
And maybe there's something to that. But the fact, but you don't have to. I mean, if somebody else wants Steve Ott for $3 million a year, then let them have him. You don't have. It's not like you're losing a fantastic talent. So.
Well, and I just, the thing that I look at too, and maybe, you got to consider in age of players and when players start to deteriorate, look at the players that had big contracts in St. Louis. They either get traded or they sign somewhere else, and they're not in the NHL after a year. I mean, you could point to so many players that was the case. Was Derek Roy, Barrett Jackman. I mean, these guys were making good money with the Blues 1 year somewhere else, and they're gone because they couldn't take it. They're not NHL players, but they're coveted by Doug Armstrong for some reason, and they're big money players here. It just doesn't make any sense.
Josh Webster says on the YouTube chat, tank for Hughes, which I thought we established is lose for Hughes. Right. I mean, right. Lose for Hughes.
See what I started.
It should be tank for Hughes sounds jagged and rough, doesn't flow. Lose for Hughes is awesome.
Right. But then we could be confused, or maybe we can get them as a sponsor.
Lou Fuse, the Red Hot Dealer. Yeah. No, that's Feld.
Yeah,
that's Feld.
Right.
Feld. Red Hot Dealer. What's Lou Fuse's slogan?
I don't know. I bought a car.
Save big money at Menards?
No,
that's not it.
I heard you can save big money there. But he says, tank for Hughes, fire Armstrong, and get a new goalie in the offseason. I don't think Armstrong's getting fired.
No,
his contract says he's not going to.
No, there's no way. They can't afford another GM.
No. And they can't be paying 2 coaches and 2 GMs
and a team that's, to the cap.
Yeah. To the cap, which if they do get Howard, the salary has to come the other way too, because they'd be over.
Yeah, no, there's so many problems with this team. I mean,
well, it sucks because coming into the season, there weren't that many problems. We didn't foresee this. We foresaw goaltending maybe being an issue.
I don't think we saw Colton Parayko taking the big step back that he's taken.
Yeah, it's been. I like him so much, but man, he has not had a good year so far.
And
he's been.
Joel Edmondson's had decent games, but he's not a top pairing defenseman.
It's almost
we don't have a top pairing left defenseman on this team.
It's almost like it's infectious. It's like something spreading. It's just not. It's affecting everybody, and that's maybe it's a team mentality, a coaching direction. The fact that it was mentioned in the YouTube chat earlier that this team has no direction and no identity. And I agree completely. You watch this team and you don't know what they're supposed to be doing. It's like, they're not a fast team. They're not a heavy team. They don't swarm the net necessarily. They've scored some goals early on, but they're not tough defensively. They don't have spectacular goaltending. They don't rally around certain players. Their top players aren't there. I mean, Tarasenko is Olchek complained that Tarasenko made that drop pass and didn't shoot. He's your best goal scorer. No, he's not. O'Reilly is. Tarasenko is not our best goal scorer anymore. We said that about him last year.
This season.
We said last year. Did he lead the team in goals last year?
No,
yeah. Shen. That's right, Shen. He wasn't. We talked about this last year. How Tarasenko was not the best player on this team anymore.
I think, not that I'm an Ed Olchek defender, because I wish the guy would never call another non-Blackhawks game, especially a national broadcast. But I think his point is he's the guy you need to lead you in scoring. And
it'd be nice.
And he's not that guy.
It'd be nice.
He needs to do things to make himself that way. Like shoot that damn puck rather than making a drop pass to Zach Sanford, who was going back
curling to the bench.
Right.
I think Tarasenko, and hear me out because I hate this excuse, trying to do too much. I really think he just needs to focus on being a one-dimensional player. I mean, he's a pretty good passer, Tarasenko is, but I really think he just needs to be fed the puck and to shoot it. I don't think he needs to. He shouldn't worry too much about trying to beat the defenseman wide. He shouldn't worry too much about trying to split a D, or take Brett Hull's approach. His handful of years, the first handful of years in St. Louis, just shoot the puck. Yep. Just get open and shoot it. Be the sniper.
Just for clarity's sake, Tarasenko did lead the team in goals last year.
I was
33. Braden Shen had 28, but Shen led in points with 70.
Okay, that's what it was. So, but I don't think Tarasenko is this team's best player anymore.
Oh no,
that's O'Reilly easy.
No, O'Reilly is by far this team's best player.
And I think if Tarasenko, if everything he tried to do on the ice worked out more often, I think he would be. But I think he just tries to do things that he just can't do consistently enough to do them. Just shoot the puck. And I don't want to be that guy that says shoot, shoot, shoot. But he has a very good wrist shot. And try and develop a one-timer, please. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
That could go for all of our forwards.
Yeah.
And our defensemen.
But Tarasenko is fed the puck a lot, and it'd be nice if, and there's a number of times where he's had opportunities to shoot the puck quicker, get the shot off quicker. And I've complained about this a number of times. He receives the pass, corrals the puck, goes back end forehand, then lays into it and shoots. That's his play. He doesn't get it off quick enough. Bob Rakowski said he sacrificed a chicken before the Nashville win. Tried again tonight. Guess it only works sometimes. Josh Webster said Tarasenko will leave us like Panarin left the Hawks.
Nah.
I don't think so. Panarin's a big city, big lights guy. I mean, that's what he wants this offseason. Even though he left Chicago, but yeah. Oh,
No.
Chicago traded him.
Right, Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. He won't come here because he is a bright lights, big city kind of guy.
Yeah,
and St. Louis is not that.
No, he said he wants big city, big money. So whatever.
Mark it on the tape. November 28th, 2018. Jeff Ponder is claiming Artemi Panarin will be a New York Ranger. It's going to happen.
Okay. LSGA said I would move a lot and rebuild rebuild in the right moves if possible. Also says I think Army traded off a lot of our picks though.
Yeah,
he did.
But
yeah,
Josh
Webster says but the cap is only for players, not the GM or coaches. I know, but that's still money. That's still money. That's the money the ownership is paying.
Money in a small market.
Money in a small market,
St.
and
Louis is a small market.
And if you bring in a coach like Quinville, that's $6 million plus that you're paying a guy, and on top of whatever Yo made, which is probably like $1 million or $2 million.
Right.
Well, I'm definitely not blaming the fans because they have every right to not show. But with the attendance numbers this year, there's not any reason for Stillman to say, "Yeah, I'll spend more money on this team."
Yeah, Mr. Blues had a great tweet tonight that the Blues could probably get started early on those mezzanine upgrades.
Yeah,
that's a good point. That's funny.
So let me ask you guys: going into the season, and I'm purely talking about defensemen here. Going into the season, I would have said there's 3 guys that I don't want traded from the Blues defense. Here we are, 2 months almost into the season. I don't give a shit at this point if they trade one of the defensemen. I don't care who it is. I think a move needs to be made. How do you guys feel about that?
You know what? I almost want to say, God, I liked this roster so much coming into the season. I really did.
Mm-hmm.
I almost want to say that. I mean, isn't there something to be said for? Okay, you bring in a really good head coach, and maybe the system he employs, maybe he instills a mindset that clicks with this team, and maybe the team turns it around, and maybe you don't have to gut the team, and maybe that's wishful thinking. I think that's a I don't know if it's an obvious first move, but it's a first move I would consider before trading away some assets that you thought were very valuable before. You know what I mean? I'd hate to do something like that and then in the end wonder if you just brought in a coach to maybe, turn the ship around. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I hear you, but the problem is that, too, I mean, we talked about it already. When is this team going to get a head coach that's going to do something like that? And 2, and this is kind of the counter to what I asked, you probably can't make a trade right now with a lot of your defensemen because you're going to be trading low. I mean, nobody wants one of the Blues defensemen at this point.
I think who do you think would draw more in return? I guess Pietrangelo.
Yeah,
over Parayko.
Right. He's got the pedigree. He was the highest draft pick of them.
Yeah.
He's been the captain. He's had the better years.
Yeah.
He's having a down year. For
so is the whole team now. Most of the team is having a down year.
Yeah, but is he part of the cause?
He ain't helping any.
But then what about Parayko? I mean,
God, he was a guy I almost said was not. No one's untouchable, but he was close.
No, he was
close last year.
The untouchable guy on this defense. People were ready to anoint him as the guy that could take over and be the number 1.
He had it all. I mean, he was fast. He had the long reach. He was good defensively. Amazing shot. He could go end to end.
Right.
Um,
But now he does everything in that realm very, very middle of the pack. Very mediocre.
and defensively, he's fallen apart.
Yeah.
He's not. I mean, he's gone from being a guy who was pretty good defensively, just not physical, to not very good defensively and not physical. And it's like, well, if you're not going to be good defensively, at least be physical.
I don't remember what game that was. I want to say it was maybe against Chicago. The first goal of the game that was given up, whoever it was, again, my memory is awful. Basically, all that needed to be done was the guy's stick needed to be tied up. There were 4 Blues players on the guy, and he still shoveled the puck in almost untouched. And something Art Lippo tweeted, which was spot on, this Blues defense is baby shit soft. And it is. I mean, that's a play, and I know we've said this before, that if Parayko just played like a big, mean defenseman like the days of old, he'd be a complete package back there. But he's not, which is fine, because he made up for it in other ways. Well, guess what? He's not making up for it in other ways. And I remember over the summer, we talked about all the trade rumors with him, going to Edmonton for, the second line center. What's his name?
Draisaitl.
Yeah, there was rumors of him going for Draisaitl, and I was mad. I'm like, no, you can't move him. But I got to tell you, I mean, not that I'm wanting to trade him, but if he was moved now, I don't think I'd be as upset if it was for a good deal.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel weird saying that because it's been what 20 some odd games, and it's like that this has turned on what a difference 20 plus game makes.
Yeah.
I almost like, gosh, am I like jumping the gun here? Am I like reactionary? Because I'm like, surely no one can just collapse this quickly. I mean, the whole team is kind of playing like shit, so it's infectious. Maybe, I don't know. It could go the other way, right? I don't know. This team is fucking very difficult to analyze and understand. Let's see. Bob Rakowski, Parayko soft as baby shit. That's what he said. And LSGA says that how many types of systems are there? LOL. Hockey is a reactionary sport, they say. Talking heads say most teams play the same sort of hybrid. I think that may be true, but I think a lot of teams also have an identity as far as like what they excel at,
what they're supposed to be.
And it was some teams are like tough defensively, some teams are tough offensively, some are heavy hitters, some are fast. So I mean, it's not. I guess those aren't really systems. They're just based on the makeup of your team. But
somebody said in the chat earlier, they don't feel like they know what the Blues' identity is, and I think. Now, granted, we're in the middle of a kind of a transitional period here between Yo and Berube, but at the same time, I think you could have said the same thing just 2 weeks ago when Yo was still the head coach. And you hear teams say all the time, and it's a real thing. We have to make them play our game. Well, what is the Blues' game? I mean, what kind of game do they play? I feel like they're too reactionary. It's, well, these guys play this kind of game, so we got to beat them at their own game. Guess what? You're not that good. You can't play the other team's game and win. You have to have a strategy. You have to have a mindset of what it's going to take to win, to beat these guys and have them play your game. But, man, I don't see an identity with this team one bit.
Josh Webster says it's funny because we will win the next game 5-1, then lose 4 in a row again.
That's the most frustrating thing because, again, we've talked about this before, that this is, at the end of the day, this is entertainment. We're supposed to be enjoying this for what it is, kind of like watching a movie. But it's not entertaining when they win 5-1 and then lose 6-2 the next night.
It's frustrating.
Give us some close games. Like, as frustrating as tonight was, at least it was a close game.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it was tie game late in the third, so I mean, they came back, which was good to see. I mean, the first part of the second period was just dog shit. But I mean, they did come back. So moral victory. Not.
Hey, that's one of those games that if they would have lost in overtime, I would have been like, hey, you know what? At least they got a point out of it.
Yeah, we're down 3-0. Exactly. Yep. That's the time you pull out that card. That's the time you play that card. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention at least once that there were a lot more folks than I expected on social media today that were pretty much saying Allen was on at the same level as Bobrovsky as far as like talent goes, which I was just because Bobrovsky has never won a playoff series, which is true, but they act like Allen's won, been to like 3 cup finals or something. That boggled my mind. I was almost pulling my hair out in that conversation. I didn't understand that whatsoever. He's a fucking 2-time Vezina winning goalie.
Who are
well,
these?
I
Stephanie Michelle and a couple other people, and that were a number of people were basically saying that Bobrovsky isn't that good because he's never won a playoff series.
Okay, so Bobrovsky's playoff numbers are not great. So
no, they're actually.
What's that?
They're not very good at all.
No, they're bad. He's had some bad playoffs, but here's the thing: Columbus has been kind of known as a team that doesn't play well in the playoffs. And 2, you take out that 1 series win from Jake Allen, his numbers are. I mean, I you know what? I'm going to do the math, and I'll tweet it out sometime tomorrow. I bet if you take out that 1 playoff series against Minnesota, his numbers are very. First of all, I can tell you right now, I know they're pedestrian, but they're probably pretty close to Bobrovsky's. And the point that I make with that too is, yeah, Bobrovsky, Vezina, that's a regular season award. Whoop-de-doo, who cares? Well, guess what? He's getting his team to the playoffs. Jake Allen, you could argue, does not help his team make the playoffs. Now, granted, again, we're shitting on Jake Allen right now. He's played well recently, but it's just, again, how long is that going to last?
Got me. I was almost a loss for words today. Which is rare for me. Set the record straight, and I don't even think this is up for debate. It shouldn't be. Bobrovsky is 10 times the goalie that Jake Allen is. I'm sorry.
Was that you that tweeted or sent a message to Bill and I that said he was the number 1 ranked goalie going into the year?
Well, NHL.com released some rankings, and they had their panel of experts, former players, the NHL Network folks. They did video clips and stuff and talked about their top 10 goalies. And Bobrovsky was their number 1 ranked goalie coming into the season. The entire NHL. So, and that's a goalie that these folks were saying that Jake Allen was pretty much the same as. I don't know. And traditionally, I mean, I think those folks too are the Allen quote fan boys and girls, the Allen defenders, and you know what I'm talking about. Always the defense's fault kind of people. So I guess it's not.
Yeah, I mean,
wholly unexpected.
Did anybody have anything intelligent numbers wise to back them up?
I think one guy threw out Bobrovsky's. No, I think it was not really. I think the only stats favorable for Allen threw out were November's numbers this year.
Well, and not to
confusing.
Not to go back on this, because I obviously I'm not trying to compare Bobrovsky to the other goalie that the Blues are rumored to be getting, but the people who have been saying that Jake Allen is 10 times the goalie that Jimmy Howard is, that's just simply not true. I mean, if anything, they're on the same level. Yeah, you can give Allen the edge because of his age, but
here's the
recent numbers. Jimmy Howard has played fantastic for the Red Wings.
And career-wise, Jimmy Howard is a tick better than Allen, numbers-wise.
Yeah, he is.
And to be honest, age doesn't matter because the Blues, if they did acquire him, I don't think the plan is to sign him.
Right.
So it doesn't
He's
matter
not
how
the
old he is.
long-term
He's
solution.
he's not there. So what is he, 30?
33 or 34.
34. Okay. So he's oh God, he's old. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because he's not a guy that we're going to sign. He would play out the season here and that's it.
Right.
And he's
I think the biggest thing there is that you're making that trade to get rid of Jake Allen.
Right.
That was lost on so many people today. No, Allen's better than Howard. First of all, he's not. And second, they're missing the point completely with this trade. It was a trade. It's
the move on.
It was a dump of Allen. It was them getting to take Allen's contract, which is why if we did make this trade, it'd be Allen plus a prospect or a pick or something to get them to take his contract. It wouldn't be because we're going to go with Howard as our guy for the next 4 years. No, that's not what it is at all. And I think a lot of people didn't understand that at all.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are lost on the fact too, that Pekka Rinne was last year's Vezina Trophy winner, right? He's 35 years old. I mean, we're not saying Jimmy Howard's the goalie of the future for the Blues. He's going to be there 4 or 5 years. But if you can still get one great year out of a goalie, it doesn't matter how old they are. And if Jimmy Howard can still string together some wins for one more year, and then maybe you consider him for a backup spot next year, hell, that's great. Let's go for it. Because we think we know what we're getting out of Jake Allen come January and February.
Yeah, and plus Howard's money that he makes it's $1 million more than Allen, so it's not like grossly more. They could make that work with a roster move. So I mean, and his contract expires, so that's a lot works in favor of the Blues being interested in this deal to just allow them to go a different direction in the offseason, which was my initial thought, and I don't think a lot of people thought of that. So. And I would hope that's the Blues thinking. I would hope they wouldn't want to sign him for like a 2-year extension or whatever. Unless it's for cheap and he's a backup, like you said, Jeff. I don't get that.
Give it Armstrong's record: 6 years, $20 million.
Well, he makes like 5+ now, 5.2 or something, or 5.3. I wouldn't want him as a backup any more than 2. And I don't know if he would take that.
If he has a good year, he will make more than that in the open market.
Yeah.
Somebody will overpay for him.
Yep. Which fine, let him. I've never really liked Howard anyway, so.
No, he was Chris Osgood reincarnate. Quite honestly.
Yeah, and he had a good team in front of him for a little while, and not anymore.
LSGAE in the YouTube chat says Allen 28. Some other team may think they can coach him. I bet Allen could be decent with a change of scenery. I think that is the only way Jake Allen is going to be traded, is if a team says, yeah, I bet a change of scenery will do that guy good. You look at a team, Detroit comes to mind because they're rebuilding, but I also think Ottawa, maybe even Florida, because James Reimer has just been a dumpster fire down there. But yeah, you got to figure you have to hope some team is like, change of scenery for this guy. That could do it, because that's the only way other team's taking that contract on.
Philly. If there's any other team
Hextall's gone though
that has been that shitty at making goaltending decision, it's Philly.
How about they did pretty well with Steve Mason. He was kind of a reclamation project. So yeah, maybe they'll get the same kind of luck out of Jake Allen.
And to be honest, I mean that's probably what a lot of teams will be thinking, because it's not like Allen's had this, oh well, maybe a change of scenery would do him good 1 or 2 times before with moving around. This is the first time it would have happened to him. He came up with the Blues, so that's actually a viable thing. And it happens with players. I mean, that could be a thing. So maybe it would work, but and it probably would. It's just the way the Blues luck is with things.
Oh, he'd win 4 straight Vezinas if he left here.
And then there'd be a bunch I told you so's with people, and like, no, he was not going to win here.
Yep.
Whatever. Kind of like how, oh, we'll never win a cup with Oshie on the roster. He goes to Washington, wins a cup. Or Quinville never won a cup. He can't get out of the first round. Yep.
Mm-mm-mm.
There's a fundamental wrongness with a lot of this stuff.
Right. And here I was, prepared to beg our guest tonight not to rub salt in the wounds. And that's what we've basically been spending the entire evening doing,
right,
is cutting ourselves and rubbing salt in the wounds.
Let's see. Douglas Jones says locker room issues.
Yeah, that's kind of been a trend here in the YouTube chat, and I do kind of want to give my 2 cents on that. I don't want to say who, but one of the guests I had on for the summer interview series, I did ask that question off the record, and that is a completely blown out of proportion from what I understand. When I was in the media, I never noticed anything like that. Granted, behind closed doors, you never know. They're not going to give their true feelings to the media. But from what I heard, that is a completely preposterous statement. If Alexander Steen was truly the leader of some revolt against the rest of the Blues leadership, as much as I don't believe in Doug Armstrong, I think he would have not signed him to that contract a couple of years ago. And I think he probably would have traded him at some point by now, or at least said, get away from my team. I'm going to find a way to terminate your contract. I just don't see there being any truth to that. And like I said, the gentleman I spoke with completely echoed that sentiment.
Steve's the one guy, though, that I feel like I would not be surprised tomorrow to wake up and hear he's been traded.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I do too.
And I've always heard that too about locker room stuff, is that it's not uncommon for a number of people on a team, any team, NBA, baseball, football, to hate each other. You can't expect a team full of 30 plus guys with egos and whatever to all get along. Guys are going to dislike each other, going to hate each other. It doesn't matter. I think somebody came out one time and said the long time ago, the Philadelphia A's, before they moved to Oakland, they won a championship. And they said that clubhouse absolutely, so many people hated so many other people in that team, but they won. I think, like you said, Jeff, and that makes complete sense to me based on stuff in real life, that in common sense, that that stuff is blown way out of proportion. Unless you're starting fist fights in the dugout, or whatever, or making a scene publicly, which you don't see that much at all.
Especially in hockey.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I think that I think it was like somebody who was on ESPN radio or somebody tweeted that out around the trade deadline last year that kind of broke that and said, oh yeah, it's because Alexander Steen's leading this faction of Blues players, and you got a Steen side and Pietrangelo side, and it was retweeted so much that I think even Rutherford and Korak came out and said, yeah, we're at every game. Who are you? I've never heard of you before. So yeah, it's I think it's I could completely see how that's completely blown out of proportion, and people are just running with what our president would call fake news.
And it's funny because, and I'll pull out one of our things in the social media fails, which kind of touches on this. And this is from the St. Louis Blues Lounge. Ryan Doherty says that they pretty much said earlier that this group is wearing thin on ownership group. So I totally see something bigger happening soon. I'd love to see 91 gone personally. And someone responds, why? And Ryan says, underperforming, and I feel he's a problem in the locker room. And someone replies, when were you last in the locker room? And Ryan says, never, just my opinion. I'm like, what the fuck are you saying publicly that you think that 91's a problem in the locker room, and you have absolutely nothing to back that up with? That's ridiculous.
Because he's a Russian.
He's an idiot.
Well, again, I haven't been in the media now since 2015. And I'll tell you, I mean, everyone chummed around with Tarasenko. Everybody was buddies with him then. I can't see that kind of thing changing in just 3 years' time.
Josh Webster says in the YouTube chat, when's the last time you saw Allen stop a breakaway? LOL. He did stop
Good
one in the
question.
Vegas game.
Right. The Blues are what, 1 for 15 now? I think it's the stat on the
breakaways?
season.
Yeah, he's not good. I mean, it's not. I mean, they don't keep official. Do they keep stats on that breakaways? I haven't seen it, but they don't. They keep stats on odd man rushes, but not breakaways. And if you're watching the games, you can see he doesn't stop. He doesn't stop hardly any.
He freezes. It's like I don't know. I mean, he doesn't challenge. He barely moves his body to react to a shot. It's like he's not reading the puck off the stick well, which doesn't make sense because there's not anybody screening him. He can see where the shot's coming from.
And while we're talking about Blues media fails, I'll just go ahead and read off the other one. And I didn't realize this is Ryan Doherty again. He makes an appearance twice. If the Blues go for Howard, I expect to see maybe a piece of the core go as well, maybe 27 or something along those lines. So Pietrangelo for Howard. Or something along those lines.
Parayko
for Howard.
Parayko, Pietrangelo, Tarasenko for Howard.
I mean, we talked about the core, and some high profile defensive pieces getting traded, which, but yeah, not for Howard. Sorry. Charles Reynolds says from the Blues Lounge social media fail. If any members of the Blues even entertains the idea of trading for Howard, they should be fired immediately.
It has something to do, in my opinion, with him being a Red Wings goalie. Because Blues fans, and now granted this is a league-wide discussion, but Blues fans always talk about Corey Crawford and say, he's not elite, he's not elite, he's not elite. Well, guess what? The guy has a couple Stanley Cups. And then the same thing was always, and granted, this is a league-wide discussion too, but Chris Osgood. I mean, people have said all the time, he's not a good goalie. He's not that good. He just has a good team in front of him. And now we're hearing it with Jimmy Howard. I think Blues fans just love to hate on Red Wings and Blackhawks goalies. I mean,
or they just
we
analyzing goalies.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, look at the track record. People hating Brian Elliott, when you look at the stats and you look at any numbers at all, it shows that he was the best Blues goaltender of all time.
The damn science.
Yeah.
Just science. Is that it? Is that all the? Yeah, it's all the. Yeah, we should probably wrap this show up.
We should. 2+ hours.
Yeah.
Of
Damn, Kayla's fault.
Damn Red Wings fan.
Yeah. That's about it. That's all we got. We're gonna sign off.
Yeah, we may or may not be back next week.
We might not be back next week because we'll have to talk about this and see if we can work something out. Maybe, but I have scheduling conflicts next week, so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm busy washing my hair.
And that's when we will sign Quenneville, or not Quenneville, but that's when we're gonna make a move and goal or something.
Maybe that's
well, it's funny.
Plan more off weeks.
Yeah, it's funny that's what you say, because I don't think we said this last week, but originally we weren't going to have a show the week of Thanksgiving, but when and I was actually just kind of working on getting a couple interviews, which is why you heard my interview with Jeremy Gover last week, because we were like, oh, let's not do a show. It's just a bad week for everyone. We couldn't really work out a good schedule. But then Mike Yeo gets fired, and we're like, okay, I guess we got to do a show now.
Right.
You know what? This is what we'll do, Kurt. And I'm breaking news here, so I apologize if you guys disagree. The weeks we don't do shows, December is always kind of hit and miss with us because, Kurt and I have children. Bill's dating like 7 women, so it gets difficult.
Jeff and I's children they're not ours together. They're separate.
Oh, yeah, only 2 of them are.
And these 7 don't.
But we do kind of have a hit or miss schedule in December. The weeks we don't have shows, how about I line up interviews so at least we can release something?
And those are the weeks that'll be big news too.
Yeah, that'd be the weeks where it's like, well, damn it, I already got this interview scheduled, guys. We still got to do a show. That's what we'll do. So still expect a show next week. I'll figure something out if we don't, the three of us don't get together.
Thank you to Kayla Martz for coming on the show again. That was a good talk. Red Wings and Blues. That'll do it for this week's episode of Let's Go Blues Radio. For Jeff Ponder and Bill Day, I'm Kurt Price. That will conclude this week's broadcast of Let's Go Blues Radio. Until next time, everyone, let's go Blues.
You say so.
Let's go Blues, I guess.
The Chiefs are at home tonight against Cyanosport at the War Memorial at 8. Good seats are still available.
A look at sports.
I think that went very well.
Thank you for listening to Let's Go Blues Radio. Now take off, hosers.
Well, there's 90 minutes of your life you'll never get back. Sorry.
St. Louis Blues, St. Louis Blues. Have you heard the news about our St. Louis Blues? They've only just begun, they're on their way to #1. Now there's no more blues for our St. Louis Blues.
I just want to say there's no taking that song away from us, even though we're depressed.